now going to touch the pad. Everybody in the world fused. Yeah. Now then, crew, and welcome back to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. It's approaching Christmas and we've got to get Tool Girl Lilli's DR200S up and running for her because it's her Christmas present, don't forget. I don't want to let her down. Right, so what have we done so far? You've already watched the previous video, I'm sure. I'll put a link at the end of this video so you can check it out if you haven't. What did we do first? Well, I think we fixed the ignition barrel first. We found that the ignition switch itself was constantly on, which would have flattened the battery. It had no battery. We chucked a new one in, and then we tested the charging rate, and we found that the reg rectifier unit on the bike was faulty. Managed to find a second-hand one off another Suzuki similar bike and plumbed it all in, changed the wiring. Hey presto, it now charges. Perfect. And in that video we did a few checks on the stator output. So if you've got a problem with your charging system with your motorcycle, that's pretty useful. We also replaced some rear spokes in the back wheel, some spokes in the back wheel on the drive side of the rim. 4 were broken, and at the same time we fitted a new chain and sprocket kit. You can see the monster amounts of wear on those teeth on that sprocket. They're called hooked, we call that in the trade, and completely worn out. But I have seen worse on farmers' bikes. So, what else have we got to do? Well, the big job is the steering head bearings. They are completely shot, and that's what we're going to be covering in this video, and those are the parts there. Look, this is a 2016 Suzuki DR200S, so that part number suits this bike. We've also got the front brake pads to replace, and we're going to use some Vestra pads. These, I believe, yes, these are the sintered type, which is what I wanted, so they should last a while, because the bike's going to be ridden off-road. And then there's going to be a service to do. So, like I did the last video, I did loads of different jobs all in one video. So rather than break it up into separate jobs, separate videos, it's just a case of an afternoon in Andy's mechanic workshop getting this bike finished off. So we're going to be covering the steering head bearings, we're going to replace the front brake pads, and we're going to do a quick oil change, air filter, and a new spark plug. It's got a new chain and sprocket, so we can oil that up as well. Okay, well, time is of the essence. We better get to it. Here we go. Okay, so to fit these new steering head bearings, we're going to need to remove the front wheel and the forks and pretty much a lot of the stuff around the headlight, handlebars, so we can get what we call the triple clamps. That's the clamp at the top and one at the bottom. Get those taken out so we can access those bearings. It's not a fast job, but I'll try and make the video as quick as I possibly can. Here we go. So with the front end elevated, when you turn the steering very slightly, you can feel now, I can feel on this one, it's extremely notchy. And that's an indication that the bearings have been damaged or worn out. They've basically got indexing, we call that. Little tiny indents in the races. So when we pull them out, we should be able to take a really good close look to see what's causing this. Makes the bike actually quite hard to ride at slow speed. It's no fun at all. So we'll get that fixed for Lilli. So first job, front wheel out. So caliper off first. Now fortunately Lilli didn't tighten those up too tight for us. So that's Mr. Caliper swinging, and now we need to undo the axle. And we've got a nut on the far side as well. This looks like a 12. Is it 12? It is a 12. Perfect. Right, so at this end we've got a 17 on there, look for the nut, and on this side here a 12. Right, see if we can get this thing cracked off. Oh, there we go. Easy. Right, spin that round. Now I've got to remember there's a little washer on this side by the looks of it, so we'll pop that down there on this side of the bench. Oh, that was easy. And we'll, no grease. Oh, yeah, pretty much no grease. Little tiny bit. Assembly grease. It's probably never been out that. Okay, speedo drive out, and of course, got a little spacer that sits in there as well. Look, so don't forget that when it goes back together. Okay, well, while it's out, just a caliper, well done. Are we on camera? We are. Okay, so while it's out, just a quick check is just check the wheel bearings or the hub bearings for the front. I did check the rear as well when the rear wheel was out. I did the previous work. Oh, there's even more grease on it. That's perfect. Okay, and Lilli's already checked the spoke. There's no need to do that. And how about the wear on the disc? Give it a bit of grease. Oh, that's fine. Plenty of life left in that. And the tyre is good enough for what Lilli wants. Cool. Okay, well that wheel can go to one side. Next job is to drop out the forks, and to do that, we need to undo the clamps at the top. Now, before we go lowering the hoist down, let's get this cable clamp off the fork, because it'll need to be undone for later on to get the fork out. Okay, that's that one. And we've also got a little clamp for the speedo drive on this side, so we're out at the same time. Look at that, didn't even need to move the camera. Perfect. I think we're pretty much on schedule with this bike, to be honest. We're doing alright. Right, we'll stick that back in there for now so we don't lose it. Coolio. Okay, now we can lower the hoist, undo the clamps, and draw these forks out. Right, I think first job we'll just whip this headlight cowl off, because it's so easy to remove, so quick, and we'll just get it out of the way because it makes life a lot easier. That's that one. We're missing a washer on the other side. Yeah, right, let's get rid of that. Okay, so, oh my word, terrible. Right. So we need now to undo this 14mm bolt for the top pinch bolt, and this 14 down here for the lower. And then we should be able to wiggle the fork and draw it out the bottom. Now we don't need to take these bolts all the way out, we just need to crack them off. Now they're not massively tight either, to be honest, they're just clamping bolts. Obviously it's important they're up to a certain tightness, otherwise things can go tragically wrong. There we go. Right, it's a good idea to take a note of which side of the forks any wires are at the moment. So we've got the indicator wire is running around the front. That's pretty much all we've got down this side. Now the next job is we should be able to give that a wiggle. Oh, look at that. What a machine. It's fantastic. Right. That's that fork out of the way. Other side. Right, said Fred. Same again. Just this one's a bit tighter. Jeez. Crack those off. Give a couple of turns. Same on this side. Now, sometimes these forks can just fall out on their own. Almost like that. Cool. That's that one done. Okay. So next job is to remove the handlebars and all the gubbins from this top clamp up here. We need to get all that off. So. Don't need to take everything off the handlebars, just undo the clamps that hold the handlebars to the top bracket. Right, said Fred, here we go. And again, these are normally about 20 Newton meters, so they're not over tight. However, it's important to remember which way around the clamps go. Often there's a little mark. And on some brands there are. On this one, there isn't. So that was the front. We'll put the bolt back in for the front. Stick it on there. So remind me later on, the bolt is the front. Forward. Right. Okay, so the bars are now loose. We can just roll those all the way to the front, out of the way. Don't press the front brake when it's in that position because you might get air in the system. Okay, next job is we need to basically remove the speedo and the switch, or the actual lights, the instrument cluster and so on. So we've got a couple of bolts just hiding behind here that should do that trick. Now those two bolts, we've got one here and one here. They're both a 10mm socket size. This one's not the easy one to get to. The ignition barrel's a little bit in the way, but we'll see what we can do. Because I can't remove the ignition barrel. What a stupid design! Seriously, we'll get this one out while we can. Oh, Suzuki, you've really let me down there. Now also on this bolt there's a little bracket that holds the wires, little clip. So I'll probably lose that if we're not careful. So we'll just clamp that around the wires a bit better. And then we shouldn't lose that. Now, how am I going to get into there? Maybe a ring spanner, maybe. Or I might go down to my 1/4" drive socket set. That might work. Okay, 1/4", so a slightly smaller diameter socket. Let's see if that's going to work. Oh yeah, look at that. It's all about tools for the job, isn't it? Now be careful, because as it comes out it's going to trap the socket. Honestly, stupid design. Because you can't take the ignition barrel off the clamp because it's got those security bolts on that we saw when we were on the last video. So it's a bit awkward, to be honest. They don't make it easy for motorcycle mechanics sometimes. I mean, sure, I suppose you could leave it on, but we need to get it off, basically. Makes it a lot easier for filming. Okay, we've got some things to unplug as well. So we've got the instrument cluster. Oh, you're serious? Look at this. It's just held on with a bit of rubber. Great. Okay. Stick the key back in there. Come on, key, get back in there. Right. Now we've got a couple of indicators. Now they're also hung off these big bolts, the clamp bolts, the 14mm, but they're also, there's a little screw just under here, so we'll have to undo those. So we'll take these big bolts out to start off with. What's that? Oh, even better. It's not even a whole circle. It's just sort of trapped under there, to stop it moving around. Okay, that saves me getting a screwdriver, doesn't it? Every bike is just that little bit different. Now on this side we've also got a little clamp for the hydraulic hose, which also is a bit bent because the nylon insert, the ring, fell out. So I'll have to fix that. I think Lily was fiddling around with that last time she was in. Right. Okay. So the ignition barrel has to come off with the bracket. So we need to unplug the ignition barrel. Now we found that plug last time. It's pretty easy. It's probably hidden behind the headlight, I would say. Right, time to move the camera. Okay, oh my word, you really feel the notchiness now. Now I could take the headlight off as well. It's only 4 bolts. Jeez. Okay, let's do that. Just get the old headlight out of the way. Oh, jeez. Wow, it's a bit flimsy, isn't it? It's 2. Right, just going to stick that back up there for now. Jeez, what was that? Something we didn't need, I hope. Good job it's only a farm bike, that's all I can say. Now we have done videos, I think Tool Girl Sarah's GSXR 750. Now that got some steering head bearings put in. That was a much more detailed video than this, I think. There's quite a lot more work involved with it being a bike, you know, the fairing and stuff. Jeez, right. Okay, let's get it unplugged. Shouldn't be too hard. It's already been off once, there we go. Right, now ignition barrel wire. Not that one. There he is. Right, we'll unplug that again. Remember in the last video we changed the electrics at the bottom there, the switch gear. Right, we'll just roll that back down there again. Get rid of that. Ah, that's what fell down. Okay, so pretty much everything now is off. That's going to go off with that. So now we can undo the large nut here at the top of the stalk. Let's go and find a big socket for that. Looks like about, I don't know, a bit of a guess, 27, maybe a 32. We'll have a look. Right, let's give this a go. Is that going to fit? It is. Perfect. Now, I'm not worried about the odd ding on the tank. It's already rusty. It's an old bike. Well, it's not an old bike, but it's had a hard life. It's not like it's a posh road bike, is it? Okay. There we go. Fantastic. Now we can whiz that off. If all goes to plan, we should now get the washer. We should now be able to wiggle this off. Oh, hang on, we left that indicator on, didn't we? Is that going to snick out of there? It is. Perfect. Okay, so this should now, look at that. It's away straight away. That's what we want. Right, let's just bounce that up there somewhere. Or is it going to come off? It is. Geez, remind me to refit that. That's the right hand one. Right, I'll just whip this one out of the way as well. It's on like a little spring clip, so we should be able to get these cables out pretty easy. So what have we got there? We've got clutch cable, and that's going to be, what's that one? Throttle cable. So clutch and throttle need to be in that little clip. There we go. Right, that's the left hand side. Okay, I think the next job is to remove the front mud guards. There'll be 4 bolts right underneath here holding it into the bottom clamp. We need that out of the way. Holy moly! Maybe I should have washed this thing before I started working on it, but this is about the only dirty part on the bike. Cow shit. My favourite. Well, that'll do, I think. I reckon we get a socket on there, can't we? Oh, I was right, look, it is an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Super. Now, are all the bolts the same length? We'll find out. They are. Thank you, Suzuki. Right, last one. If it falls on you, don't blame me. Oh, there goes the bolt. There goes the handlebars. There we go. Jeez. Oh, sorry, camera. Oh, we're almost there, look. Okay, a couple more things. Oh, I've hung up the handlebars off a strap from the roof just to help get it all out of the way so you can see what's going on. So we've got the little, basically the hydraulic hose runs down to the front caliper. We'll just pop that little nylon guide out. There we go, that's that bit done. And on this side here, we've just got the speedo drive trapped in a little bracket, so we can just bend that back a little bit, ease it through there, and then we'll stick that, I think, maybe up on the seat, out of the way. Okay, and you'll be able to feel now seriously the notchiness in those bearings. Right, next job is to slacken off with the adjuster. This is the preload adjuster, usually very, very easy to undo. Spin that off and hold the underside of the bottom clamp. There we go, get rid of that. Got some seals and stuff, we'll stick those on there for later. Now we can draw that whole bottom clamp out, and we can take out the top bearing as well. Right, things are going to plan. It's a very easy bike to do this kind of job on. It's taken me probably about half an hour so far. What time is it on there? Yeah, I suppose about half an hour if I hadn't stopped to keep moving the camera around and bits and pieces. So about half an hour in. Usually takes about an hour and a half to do this kind of a job, but it really does depend on the kind of bike that you're working on. So, last job is to go back over to the bike and ping out those outer races. We'll give them a bit of a clean up and see if we can see that damage. See if we can see why the steering was so badly indexed, you know, where it was in certain set positions. But I've seen much worse. My KTM, for example, a few years ago was horrific before I got around to fixing it, because, you know, needs must, got to ride and all that kind of stuff. But I did get around to fixing it in the end, and the old bearings were horrific. Too many wheelies can cause it as well, because when you come crashing down, it puts little dots, little marks, indents in the race. And of course, because the bearing is under preload, the balls or the rollers want to be in those grooves where there's less preload, so to speak, because it's a bigger gap. Okay, too much waffle. Back to the bike. Now we've got the top outer race to get out of the tube, and down here will be the bottom bearing outer race. Now the top one looks like it's got a really good lip on there, so I can get the punch in from the bottom, rest it on the side of the bearing, give it a few taps evenly either side until it pops out. That's not an issue. The bottom one, however, looks a lot more difficult. Let's take a look. Right, said Fred, hopefully you can see what I need you to see. So if you look right down here, you can follow the tube down, and there's really no change in diameter from the ID of the tube, the inside diameter of the tube, and what's available as the inside diameter of that bearing. It's a really tiny lip. So to get the punch down from the top and to sit on there, there is a slight indent just above it, but it's going to be pretty tight getting that on. This is where you need more hands and different kind of camera mounts. Okay, so it's going to be touch and go. Really, the punch really doesn't want to stay on that bearing edge. But we'll give it a go, and obviously you're going to have to watch from a distance because I can't hammer the punch. Focus. Oh, it's too close. I can't hammer the punch with the camera in the way. Okay, let's go for the easy one first. Why not? And that'll be obviously the top one, so we'll get the punch in there. Now there's plenty of lip on this one, and we're using a copper hide hammer. Now obviously wear safety protection for your eyes when doing this, very important. I'm going to go on the other side. There we go, I can get in a bit easier now. And when you're bringing the bearing race out, bring it out evenly. Otherwise it can jam and you can be in a real bad situation then. And you can cause damage to the tube, which means the new bearing won't seat properly. And just one more. There we go. That was the easy one. There you go. How's that for a shot? Right, see if that punch is going to work. If not, I might need some alternative tools. Now you've got to tell me when the race is just about to fire out and hit the camera. How we're looking. Yeah, you can see that. Right, we're on. Jeez, there's just nothing. There's nothing at all to get hold of it. Now one option you can do is, if you've got a MIG or any kind of welder really, just weld a metal bar, piece of plate from one side to the other, and then of course A, the heat helps to loosen it, but B, you've got something to hit against. We're going to find my special old punch through screwdriver. Right, so this is what I've used for years and it usually works. Let's see what happens. Now, have we got any movement? Doesn't look to me like it's moved at all, does it? God damn. It's always fun, this bit. Thoroughly enjoy it. Right. I'll be back in a second. Right, so just tidy the end up and give it a nice sharp edge. Let's see if that's going to work. Man, there really isn't a lot to get hold of. Can we move? Oh, look at that! Fantastic. You ready? You going to catch it? Oh, you missed. Right. Back to the bench. Holy moly. Okay. So we got it out. And where's my screwdriver? Hang on. So, for about the last... Oh, gee, that's hot. Hang on a minute. For about the last 20 years, and I'm not kidding, that has been on the end of my punch-through screwdriver. It's had little notches cut out of it and all sorts of stuff going on, but it was quite rounded at the end, and it just wouldn't get a purchase on the top side of that bearing. See, I just lopped it off, basically turned it into a square punch, and there was enough surface contact, and the contact was dead flat, so there was like no thrust to one side. It was able to knock it clean out. So just an old punch-through screwdriver. That's all it is, pound through, if you're English. Dead easy. Right, so let's do a close-up on these bearing races. I'll get some brake cleaner and we'll see how bad they really are. Here we go. Ta-da! There we go, look. Right, where's my brake cleaner? I'm not even wearing gloves today. Terrible. Back to basics. Okay, let's do the top race first. Now this was easy to get out. Just going to dribble some brake cleaner on. I don't want to spray it on real hard because it's going to back up to the camera. Hey, I hope the new ones are the right ones. I'll get this bike finished this weekend. Well, that one looks in really good condition. I can't see any indents whatsoever on that race. If you run a screwdriver across it, you'd feel them as well. That is like new. Nothing wrong with the top race. What's the bottom race like? Looks a bit more manky, doesn't it? Oh, Jesus Christ. This brake cleaner is just unbelievable. Right. Cheers, Jared, by the way. Appreciate that, that brake cleaner. It's awesome stuff. Now, this one looks a little bit on the corroded side. Let's have a look. Now we have got some pitting around here, and there's some minor indenting. Oh, there, look, you can see there's a bit of a groove there, look. Now, if this bike's been stood a while and this bearing's been wet, and the rust tends to eat into it, creates a line and rust, you know, where the roller sits. And there are some distinctive lines on here. If you can see that on the camera or not, but there's definitely some distinctive lines going on, running up there. So it's not in good condition at all. That's what it should look like, that little bit there. And again, you can see again we've got some distinct rust lines going on, which would cause that indexing. It's basically an imperfection in the surface. That's quite rusted in there. There's some pretty bad pitting going on, but definitely has to be replaced. And made the right call, obviously. You know, steering head bearings. If there's anything wrong with them, you just change them, don't you? And honestly, just to strip them down and repack them with grease and put them back together, even if they still looked good, I think it's just mental. While you're in there, you may as well just put new ones in. So we've got a 32006X by the looks of it on that one, and this one is a 32005X. I think my eyesight's crap these days. Okay, let's see what's in the kit. Put those over to one side. And what have we got? Oh, some seals, that's good. Might need those. And we've got a bearing. This is the top bearing, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Right. Oh my word. There are no numbers on that bearing. That, to me, senses cheapness and poor quality. Man, I'm not happy about that. That's not what Andy Mechanic does at all. Golly gosh. I'll have to have a chat with my supplier. Oh, no. There we are, look. It's just very finely etched on. What have we got? It's not a standard bearing number. 99-3518. C118-19 maybe? I don't know. But proof of the pudding is it the same diameter? And the answer to that is yes, it is. So whether we read the markings or not is pretty much irrelevant. Is it the same thickness? What do you reckon? I think it is. That'll work. Looks pretty good to me. Okay, so that's the new one. That's the old one. Let's not mix them up. Now, we also need the inner race, don't we, to make sure that the inner diameter is the same. What do you reckon? Think it looks good? So let's stick that in the outer race. There we are. It looks about right, doesn't it? Maybe we should measure it using the verniers, just to be on the safe side. Where's my verniers gone? Okay, probably need a bit of a clean. You weren't really supposed to go on camera today. Jeez. Apologies. Right, let's just set that 0. You can see that? We're on 0. Okay, so old one first. What have we got? 24.92. That's a funny size, isn't it? .88. Seems very odd. Okay, the new one. Well, there you go. It's the same size. So let's just check the OD while we're on. Okay, so we've got 47.04. Oh yeah. Ooh. 47.03. 47. Probably should be 47, I would say. 47, there we are. Right, quite happy with that. So the inner was, what was it again? I forget. So the inner's probably about 25, and I'm just misreading it. 24.8. Anyway, that's what it reads. Okay, so I'm happy that that one is going to fit. So we'll stick that over there. Now, geez, what's this one going to do? Is this one going to let us down, or is it going to work? And again, it's got some very minor markings on it. 99-35191. I can read that one pretty well. Nothing on the out. Oh, yep, hang on. 99-3510. 19-1, I think it is. Okay, I'll have to do exactly the same thing again. Get rid of that. Now, I can't do the ID yet because we've not got the inner bearing off, but we can do the OD. So we'll just 0 that again. .55 on the nail. Okay. What have we got? Yeah, 55. Cool. Okay, I'm happy with that. Right. So the only ambiguous part is the inner diameter of the lower bearing. So we need to get that taken off the stem now, don't we? Damn, that'd be fun. Now, I'm going to put a covenant in this video because there seems to be a little bit of confusion on previous videos. Yes, there are super special tools that you can get to remove this bearing race from this stem. However, Many of you, the vast majority of you, won't have that tool. And if you do have it, you're probably not going to be watching this video because you know how to do this job. I try to use as much as possible in the videos tools, everyday tools that most people will have in the workshop. And that's exactly what we're going to use on this occasion to get that bearing race off. Okay, here we go. Right, so option number one, just using standard tools. We've got the original punch I was using earlier on to get the outer race out. I'm just going to hook it onto there. Let's see if we can just grab that bearing. Now make sure you're wearing your eye protection for this, because things can go flying. I'm going to use that roller to key onto the inner race. See if we can get it moving. Now, it's jumped off, the cage is starting to distort, which is fine because that's scrap. So we'll just keep going and get rid of that outer race. There we go. Don't need that anymore. Oh, you're going to have to go back a bit. Jeez. There we go. Right, so we'll try again now, just hooking onto the actual race itself. Doesn't always happen. There's plenty of other methods we can use. It all depends really how much pressed on that is. You can also use a bit of heat as well, that will help to get it off. So we might try that next. There you go. Okay, so with it being hardened steel, of course, that's broken the race now, which is again not a problem because it's scrap. So we'll get the little blowtorch and we'll give it a bit of a warm up. Now, due to thermal expansion, this should increase in diameter and it should release its grip on the stem. That's the plan. Now, I appreciate this is quite a small blowtorch, but it should help. It's quite a warm day today, so we shouldn't need too much heat. Make sure you position the stem in the vise sufficient so you've got a bit of a gap for the bearing to go once it starts to move. You don't want to be doing this in 2 or 3 different sessions because you're going to have to keep reheating it. And it's surprising how little heat you need to release that grip. They're always a pain to get off of these ones. Right, in a few more seconds and we'll give it a go. There we go. Right. Nice and quick. Oh. Nope. Try from this side. I think it is starting to move. Nope. Damn. Okay, we'll flick it round and give it one more go. And then we'll try plan B. No, is it C? I can't remember which one it is. Now this side is much harder to get to with your punch. Great. So I'll give it a lot more heat. Oh, I can see some editing coming on shortly. It's a good little torch, this. Makes it feel like soldering and stuff as well. It's probably a little bit under power for this job, but it's all I have at the moment because Ben's got my other one. And the trick is we don't want to be damaging the stem, you see. I can really feel the heat coming off it now. Right, let's try that. You never know until you try. Dope. Oh. Oh. Bits of bearing everywhere. Last chance, Mr. Bearing. Oh. Right, it's about as far as we can go. Okay, we now need technique number, was it D? Now, the next option, I'm sure most of you have got a grinder kicking around, something like this. This is my little Makita rechargeable. And I've got in there a slit disc, which is super thin and designed for cutting steel. It's not really designed for grinding. This is a grinding disc. As you can see, it's a lot thicker. Now, what I find is it's quite an accurate grind is this, and if you use a disc like this, you tend to take quite big chunks away, and I don't want to damage the triple clamp at the bottom. You know, I just want to really just very gently eat away at it without going too deep to cut into the stem. That's critical. And we'll get to a point where it'll get so thin that we can hit it with a punch and it'll crack, and when it cracks, it'll come off dead easy. Right, it's a bit of grinding coming up. Here we go. Right, let's give that a go. We may still have some more to go yet. We'll wait and see. So we're just going to get on that flat there and give it a good whack. Sometimes that's just enough. Yes, we have a crack. Let me show you. Now you should be able to see, hopefully on the camera, we now have a crack that runs down here all the way through that bearing. Remember, it's very hard metal, so it's quite brittle. It doesn't take a lot to do that. So now we should be able to punch that off and off the stem, and you can see we've not ground through anywhere onto the stem itself. Pretty cool, eh? But you've got to be really careful. Realign this in the vise again. Somewhere about there, I reckon. Now, if all goes to plan, look at that. Bloody good. And looking at the stem, no damage whatsoever. So remember, you don't have to grind all the way through. You can see there's that little crack. Just trying to get the angle right for you see it on the camera. There's a little crack that runs all the way through there. And all we did was grind away most of the material, and then give it a whack with a punch on one side to sort of twist it, and that caused it to crack. Pretty sort of classic way of doing it, to be honest. But you've got to be careful, you know, because if you start putting marks and imperfections in here, it can weaken the stem, and these things are under a lot of stress, especially if you like pulling wheelies, like me. Okay, well, we can now fit the new bearing. Now, I know some of you guys out there are going to give me absolute shit in the comments for using a slit disc for grinding with, because they can explode. Be very, very careful to keep the disc in contact all the time. Don't let it bounce. But I find I have a lot more accuracy when I'm using a thin disc like this than one of those great big thick grinding discs. Now, before we slide the new bearing on, underneath the cage and the previous bearing was this big seal, so we need to slide that down the actual stem. So we'll get rid of that inner race. Job done. You see, there's quite a bit of, let me show you on the camera. Look, you see there's a reasonable amount of material still left in there. You can almost see the light through it, can't you? Look, there you go. You can see where the crack is. It's pretty cool. So it doesn't take a lot. Man, we might have just to say. Ooh, where's me screwdriver? Hang on. Get rid of those. Don't need those anymore. I think I might have just gone through. Yes, just there. Look, see that little tiny dot? I wonder if Torchy can show it. Maybe you're not bothered, I don't know. Can you see? There you are. Look, you can see there's a little tiny hole. So, did we grind the stem? Don't think we did. No. The stem's fine. Good job. So maybe a little bit of shrapnel just flew out. Maybe it just cracked off when it was split. We didn't actually grind all the way through, but there's still, you know, especially at this end here, the base of it, there's quite a big chunk of metal there. So you don't need to take all of it off. It will just fracture. So very happy with that. Okay, now in the kit were these two seals. The larger one goes down the bottom. So we'll stick that on now because I have been known to forget this. And well, if you do, then you have a major problem because you can't get the old bearing off. Yeah, so the new bearing off without damaging it. Once it's on, that's it. It's like a one-shot deal, to be honest. So you need to make sure that all the crap is cleaned up from where that bearing sits, so it seats properly at the bottom of the stem. There we go. Right, so we'll get the stem there, look, we'll just get the old Mr. Seal and we'll slide that down there. That's it, done. We don't need to worry about that anymore. And now what we need to do is get the larger of the two bearings. That's this one here, look. Now, we were going to measure the ID, weren't we? Geez, okay. Let's just double check. So we'll get Mr. Micrometer fired up. And what have we got? Oh, yeah, look, about 29.8 millimeters. So, clean hands, new bearing. What was it, 29.8? There you go, 29.8 something or other. I've got a bit of pressure on it to hold it, so it really is about 29.8. Near enough, he says. It's got to be the right one. So now, the next mission, the next hardest part to this job is installing this without damaging it. So we're going to slide that down there, but of course it's not going to go all the way to the bottom because it's a press fit. So now I've got to find a bit of tube that will slide over the stem, which OD, the outside diameter, isn't too big, and catch on the cage. And then we're going to chuck it in the press it on, job done. If you don't have a press, you can use the same bit of tube and a hammer. Jeez, and you can just basically just keep tapping it down until it's in place. It's not ideal, I understand that, but if you haven't got a press, that's all you can do, isn't it? And then obviously you've got to flush the bearing out because you might get some little shards of metal off the tube. Now don't choose a tube that's of hardened steel because, you know, it's a hardened bearing and again it could chip it. Use a tube that's relatively soft. Mild steel's normally okay. Right, we're going to find a tube. Right, we're on. As luck would have it, I found a bit of tube. So I cut it down, tidy the ends up and give it a spot of paint. So we'll label this up as a special tool number 36B for Suzuki DR200S steering head bearings. Really useful to keep a batch of bits of tube kicking around for doing exactly this job. So we've got here the stem, and just to double check, we've got the seal down the bottom, and now we can slide the tube over the top. Sits quite nicely on top of the bearing. Then we can go and press this in, swap that in there. Now we've got a bit of pumping action to do first before we get the press down so we need it. I might just find a bit of metal plate to go between the two because that's not a good idea, having a tube which might just actually slide over the top of that. So bear with me. There we go, that'll work. Excellent. Ah, geez, long way down. There we go. Right, all eyes on this bit. Oh, we're not quite lined up. Got to make damn sure we're central. Otherwise, we'll get a bit of thrust and things will ping off where they shouldn't go. There we go, that seems about right. It's so easy with the right tools, isn't it? There we go. Get off my lever. Right. Fantastic. Wow. Job done. Fantastic. Well, that was dead easy with the right tool, wasn't it? So there we go. That'll go into my little stockpile now. Bits of tube, and I've written on it exactly what its main purpose was. But I'm sure it'll fit many of the smaller bikes. Okay, it's on. Next job is to fit the two outer races. The bottom one, which is the larger one, the top one, which is the smaller one. Dead easy. Here we go. Right, so we'll tap the, first of all, make sure there's no debris in there. This is all pretty clean. We'll just tap that new one in. Make sure you get the right way up as well, so it's a larger diameter to the top, obviously. Got a little magic hammer here. Now, we need to make sure it's all the way down. That's critical, because if we set the preload, when you ride the bike, that bearing could move and the preload will be out, obviously. So we'll get the old race and use that just to tap it down a bit further. Now the trick is not to get the old race stuck in the bike. I think we'll be okay with this one because it doesn't go too far down. There we go, we're in, perfect. Right, now for the larger race that goes down the bottom. Right, give it a bit of a clean round, make sure there's no more debris in there. Now, you can guarantee that this bike has not had any head bearings since it was born, so this is its first set, so there might be some swarf and bits and pieces for the manufacturing process still stuck up there that Suzuki haven't cleared out, so it's all good. Now, these are always a bit more tricky. You can use a big washer, and a threaded rod to draw it in, but I find this is just as easy. So this time round, it's the larger diameter downwards, and we'll just give it a little tap to get it started. It's important we get it going in true and square, parallel, so to speak. Now I'm using my copper hide hammer because obviously this is a hardened surface, and if you use a normal hammer, obviously the hammer face is hardened, as is the bearing, so you do risk damaging it. Although I've never broken one yet, there is a risk. Right, let's see how we get on. Now, on this one, you can see we've still got about a 5mm gap to go further up for this bearing race. So I'm going to take the old race and gingerly tap it up there. Damn, I don't want to get the old race stuck in there. Bugger. Once I get it started and get a bit of a shoulder, I can always use a soft punch. There we go. And it's still free at the moment. Now one might say this is also a hardened surface, so it's a bit of a trick to do this, but it does come with its risks. Hear the change in noise? That means we've hit home, we're on the shoulder. That's as far as it needs to go. Hey, indicator. Oh, there goes the race. Jesus Christ. I think we're about there. One more tap. Yeah, that's good. Good, good, good. Perfect. And this is quite it's quite loose in there, so it's actually a slightly larger diameter to start off with. Cheers, Suzuki. Appreciate that. Okay, now we need some grease. Right, I'm just going to lob some grease on that inner race. Now, you really can't put too much in here because there's such a big space for it to move to. It's not a problem. inside that tube on the frame. So we'll just lob some in there like that. And we'll do the same to the top race. Excellent stuff. That'll do grommet. Yep, there's enough there, I think. Excellent. Right, said Fred. Okay, so we're going to offer that stem in there. Just offer it up. Cool, that's in. Now we need the top inner race, and I've already pre-greased both these inner races. Packed them with grease so I can go down there like that. Now, we were given in the kit this top seal. But we don't need to use that one because, oh geez, well, should we use it? No, we shouldn't use it because it wasn't part of the Suzuki setup. So, Suzuki gave us this one, which is still fine, and that goes right over the outside of the headstock to keep all the water out. And farmers tend to pressure wash or water blast their bikes quite a lot in New Zealand. So this is a far better seal, so we'll stick with that one. And then we'll just stick the preload nut back on, and that will hold everything in place. There we go. Oh, so silky now. Fantastic. Right. Well, next job, put it all back together. Actually, before we go any further, we should take a look in the official Suzuki DR200 SE service manual to find out if there is a specific preload setting for that taper roller bearing set in the headstock. There probably is. Let's take a look. Well, this is the section for steering, removal and disassembly. So let's see what Suzuki said we should have done, because I didn't bother to read this. I'm just a mechanic. Now then, preload. Well, there's the preload nut, and there's no preload given, or no torque given in the table there. So we'll dig a bit deeper. So what have we got? Well, it says to remove all the bits on the front, and remove the handlebars. That's the 4 bolts there, look. Yep. Oh, it wants us to remove the handlebar clamps. We haven't done that. No need for that. Okay, move it around. And here it's showing us move the dust seal, steering something bearing. Oh my god, look at this! That's what Suzuki say to get rid of that bottom bearing off the stem. No. You won't catch me doing that. Chuck a chisel down there and hammer the crap out of it? Sorry, that's not what I do. Okay, but they have got a special tool for removing that bottom race. Good on you, because it was a bit difficult, was that? Okay, what else have we got? We're on freehand now, sorry. Okay, so reassembly, they're actually pressing in by the looks of it. Yes, they are. They're using a long threaded bolt, some big washers, and they're pressing in the outer races. So rather than hammer them in like I did, they have a special tool for that, and there's the special tool number, which is 09941-34513, and you can order that from your Suzuki dealer. They don't mind selling special tools to the public, which is great. Okay, so it says to put some grease on. Yes, we've done that. Some grease on there. Here we go. Steering stem nut. So this is the preload nut, remember? Because the top triple clamp is not in place. Tighten the steering stem nut to the specified torque with the special tool. Steering stem nut 45 Newton meters. Holy moly, that's quite a lot. Well, we'll give it a go. Turn the steering stem lower bracket about 5 or 6 times to the left and right so the taper roller bearing will seat properly. Turn back. Here we go. Turn back the stem nut by 1/4 to 1/2 a turn. The adjustment, this is very important now, this adjustment will vary from motorcycle to motorcycle. So there's no specific position for that nut. It's different on every bike, and it's all about the feel. How does it feel? What else have we got? Right, so once that's done, then the top nut, once we've fitted the top triple clamp, is 90 Newton meters, so you can remind me on that. Handlebar, oh my word, oh, this is the lower nut that they took off, 45. I wonder what these top bolts are. 25 Newton meters. There you go. So does vary again between brand. Some brands are 20, this one's 25. And it just says to make a secure each handlebar clamp in such a way that the clearances A ahead of behind the handlebars are equalised. So they're not a stepped clamp like on some bikes. These ones, they just want you to give a even gap either side. So there's no need to record which is the front and which is the rear of the clamp. It doesn't matter on this particular bike. Well, we've still got a bit of work to do, but not a lot. We're nearly there. Bugger! That preload nut requires a special tool with 4 little prongs to key into it to be able to turn it. I don't have one. Yes, I could definitely make one out of an old socket. I could just grind back the bits I didn't need, leaving the 4 prongs, and I could definitely set the preload to 45 Newton meters and then back it off. However, the only purpose of applying that 45 Newton meter preload is to ensure that the 2 outer races are correctly seated, which I know they are. So I can apply a torque around about 45 Newton meters, turn it from side to side a few times, and then back it off, and then reset the preload so that there's a little bit of drag on those bearings. That's all I need to do. I've done steering head bearings all my life. I know what they should feel like. And once the bike's done a few kilometers, first service, you know, when it comes back, they should be rechecked and the preload reapplied, because those bearings will bed in and the preload will become less. That's right. Okay, let's head over to the bike, crank up that preload nut, give it a few flicks back and forward, back it off, and then set the preload, and then we can get this thing put back together. Here we go. Okay, feel free to fire whatever you like through in the comments, because it's going to happen any second now. Sure is. Right, wait for the 45 Newton meters that I'm applying, give or take. Click. There we go. Brilliant. Right, now we're going to do it backwards and forwards 5 or 6 times. Okay, I think we're at least 5 or 6 there. It's actually way too tight at the moment. So we're going to back that off completely. There we go. So that's now finger tight. It's very loose. It is obviously too loose. And then I'm just going to use the pliers. Remember, it wasn't very tight when it came undone, because obviously, you know, the bearings are a bit worn. That feels pretty good to me. I'm not going to do any more. That's all it needs. You also remember, when you tighten up that top nut to 90, it will actually push down on this nut, this preload nut, and it'll push it across on the threads, and the preload will actually increase on that bearing set. So you don't want to overdo it, because it will increase once you've done that top nut. I'm quite happy with that. Perfect. Right, so the next part of the job is to drop that down, put the top clamp on, and then just loosely put that nut on for now, because we can't tighten that up tight, because we need to align the 2 clamps for the forks. So really the forks need to go in next before we can do anything else. Right, let's do that. Now, it is really important, without stressing it too much, the forks are sided, so you need to get them in the right holes. This is, of course, the left fork. No, the right fork. Yes, it is. The right fork. What a plonker. Okay, so that's how that goes. And then we've got to thread this through. This is the right hand bracket that holds the headlight and stuff. That's going to go in. And you can see now why you've got to... there we go. That's about right. Right, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I'm tightening up the bottom clamp just enough to nip the fork, and I've got it flush on the top clamp. Now again, we can't tighten the top clamps up because we've still got the nut to tighten, and this effectively is going to go down slightly, so it'll slide down on the fork stanchions. So at the moment, all we can do is tighten up the bottom clamp. There'll be a torque setting for that, which we'll find shortly. Now this one's going to be a little bit harder because the camera's sort of in the way really. We'll offer that through there. Then we'll stick that up there. There we go, look. Perfect. Okay. We'll just give that a bit of a tweak. Make sure both forks are the same height in the top clamp where they come through here. There we go. Right, they can't fall anywhere now. Put the right way around, which is nice. Brilliant stuff. Now we can torque down that top nut. Hokey dokey. 90 Newton meters it says in the book. Job done. So how does it feel now? Any tighter? Yeah, a little bit actually. I was right. It's usually the case. Okay, so all we need to do now is stick all the front back together. Where did it all go? So much stuff. Now, next most important stuff really are these top clamps. So, I believe it goes that way around. Has to do, doesn't it? It's got a little guide on there. So we'll stick that on there. Then we're going to torque these both down. So let's go look in the manual and see what the torque setting is for those. Okay, well it's not in that bit. Maybe it was one of those ones at the front on this table. So top bolt is C 29 Newton meters, and the bottom bolt E 29 Newton meters. Well, that was easy. Coolio. 29 Newton meters. Fair enough. We can do that. That one. That's that one. That's that one. And we should put that one in ready, shouldn't we? That's that one. Excellent. Now, I think it's time to put the handlebars on. Let's get these out of the way because they're causing a lot of problems at the moment. Okay. Stick that on there. Get them lined up. Now, the clamps themselves, remember in the manual, they're not forward and, they're not, handy is the wrong word, but they're not specific to forwards and back. So all we need to do now is put a bit of thread lock on those bolts and then we can stick them in. And from memory, the torque setting was 25 Newton meters, wasn't it? There we go. Right. Back a bit, I think. There we go. And to the side. It's not getting on the fuel tank, Mr. Young. Job's a carrot. Right, so we're going to find my torque wrench again. 25 we said, didn't we? Now, I think about there is about right for Lilli. Now, remember, these things are made in they're made in China or Japan? Let's have a look, hang on. Ah, it's made in Japan! Bloody hell. That's awesome. Now, we're going to try and keep the gap the same front and rear, haven't we? So, we'll just get them both finger tight. Check the gap. Yep, gap's good. Give them a tweak. Cool, yeah. We'll just do that one up finger tight. Right, said Fred, here we go. Done. Right, well, we should start putting the clocks back on, I think. Oh, right, we can stick these back in, can't we? So that goes in there. Give it a bit of a tweak, I think. There we go. Excellent. That one goes in the bottom one. That's nice and tight. Cool. Okay, so what's next? Well, remember rightly, it's got some blue on there. Let's go like that. I know why. It was too bright early in the morning for the farmer. I'll take it off later on. That goes down there. Brilliant way of mounting some lights, Suzuki. Quite impressed by that. That's it, I think. Jeez. Okay, let's plug the ignition back in because that's important. Otherwise, it's not going to start for Lilli, is it? Let's get that around the back, I think. Okay. Hop that in there. You can see why so many motorbikes have wiring problems because, you know, this kind of stuff in there around the headstock is just left to its own devices. Okay, now, speedo. That needs to be over there. We've got lots of cables in the way, haven't we? Holy moly. Okay, well we can we? No. How the hell are we going to get that back under there again? Without damaging shit. Can't, can we? Because I've already fitted the handlebars. You see, it's so easy to forget stuff. I'll take the bulb out. Grab some pliers and we'll just unplug that speedo cable. Easy, a lot easier than taking the bars back off again, that's for sure. There we go. Right, let's just thread that through there. That's where it needs to go. That's cool, that's where it needs to be now. Stick it back in there again. Make sure it lines up. Yes, it does. Twist it round to where it needs to be. That way. That way we don't kink the cable, you see. Now don't over tighten that because they're only alloy. Stick Mr. Bulby back in. Now we should be in business. Yes. Right. Okay, so we've got 2 bolts to go in and this one holds a little clamp if I remember rightly. So there's the little clamp. There he is. Right. Oh yeah. Right, finger tight for now. Let's get the other one in. Can't believe this bike is made in Japan. That is amazing. There we go, almost. We'll just tweak this one first. Pretty tight on the old thread with that one. Right. No, it's not cross-threaded. It's a bit late now, but it's not. The head's got in nice and square. Cool, that works. And that ignition, that light doesn't look right, does it? I'm sure it was square before. Oh well. Oh, hang on a minute. It goes that way around. What a plonker. There you go, look. Jeez. It's better. Okay, so what else have we got? We've got the headlight to go in, and of course we've got Mr. Indicators. Now, just remember the indicators actually bolt back on through these two bolts. I'll have to slacken those off, put the indicators on, and then retort them again. That's easy enough, isn't it? Right, said Fred. Slacken that one off while we're on. Okay. Now then, this was 29 these were, weren't they? There we go. It's locked off ready. Not that the bike really needs the indicators putting on, but I'd rather leave them on the bike. It's like a special kind of indicator, that one, isn't it? Now, that's going to have to go on first, I think. No, that's going to have to go on first. There we go, that'll work. What a machine. There we go. Right. You still in shot? You are. To the side. Right, where's my other indicator gone? Here he is. Now I remember the one that rattles is on the left hand side, so I have got them right around. Okay, so that lines up under there. That goes back in. Bloody good gloves these, you know, they take quite a lot of grief. I mean, they do break eventually, but they're quite strong. Super. Okay, so what's next? Well, I think it's just the headlights, and then we're about done actually. Let's tidy these wires up a little bit. Stick Mr. Headlight in there. Now, there were two things that went in this clip, weren't there? One was the clutch cable, which is just there, look. So we need to unplug that again. Very easy to get these things the wrong way around. Right, Mr. Clutch Cable, you've got to go in there. That was tight. So we'll get him through. Now, the other one was the throttle cable, wasn't it? Holy moly. There's 100 plugs in the way. How does it happen? How on earth can these things get on the wrong side of all the wires? Pretty incredible. Right, there we go. Stick that through. Right, throttle cable is also in. They feel quite happy at that. Let's plug everything back in again. Ignition, something. There we go. Oh, it's real Suzuki connectors are these. Remember the GN250 I used to have. Phenomenal. I did a motocross race on that, you know. And I wasn't last. How's that? Okay. Right, time for a headlight. And there's our headlight plug look. I think once the headlight's in, it'll hold everything in place. Perfect. So headlight adjusters downwards. Let's plug it in first. That's it. And then essentially that should just go there. Let's just try and get these wires a bit more even. There we are. Bloody good. Lily is going to be so chuffed when she gets this bike. Seriously. I wonder if she'll watch the video of me doing all the work. That will be interesting to find out. We should ask Lily questions. So Lily, you're watching the video at the moment. So what was the torque that we did the handlebars to? I'll ask you that at the pub after Christmas. So that's question number 1, Lily. Question number 2 was, what was the torque for the main nut at the top of the top clamp, that big nut right in the middle that went onto the stem? So that was question number 2 for your pub quiz. And then question number 3, let's do another torque question, is what's the initial torque you should apply to the preload nut on the stem? That's the one that required a special socket that we didn't have. So 3 questions there for you. Okay, right, all that's done. We've got a mudguard to fit. Easy job, really. Pretty sure you can work out how these things go on. Yeah, that's one. Two. God, it must be beer o'clock by now. 3. And the last one. Right, give these a little tweak, don't go mad. We're only M6 bolts, so probably 10 Newton meters again. There we go. Oh, fantastic. We are really close, and man, it's getting hot in this garage now. Okay, just a quick headlight surround to go on. We've got a bolt on the side here, or machine screw, one on the side here, and there is one to go in down the bottom, but that's currently missing. I'll have to find something that'll fit in there. So we'll get that slapped on, and then we'll get the wheel put in. And then we've got some brake pads to do. Almost there. Time for a beer, I think. Right, said Fred. Again. Okay, that goes down there. Looks about right to me. Yep, that'll work. Now, Aussie screwdriver. There it is. Go on, get in there. Obviously been taken out a few times. And then this side. There we go. So much easier when you can see what you're doing. Right. Awesome. That's absolutely bang on, is that? It's very slight resistance, and that'll bed in. It should be perfect. Right, let's get it back up in the air and get the front wheel back on. Right, so we have these little clamps to go back on the forks, don't we, for the cables. This is a speedo cable clamp. So I reckon it went on about like that. Hopefully, he says. I think something like. Oh, look at that. Yes, that'll work. Now, I think maybe it went the other way around. Like that, the screw to the outside. Yes. That makes more sense. There's a little line of dirt. See, that's why I don't wash bikes. Little line of dirt on there to tell me where that clamp goes. Method in the madness. Get off the glove. Jesus. Okay. Okay. Get in there. There we go. Right, that's that one. And that'll line up bang on for that. Might need to slacken it off actually and just take some of that tension out, because these cables don't compress very well. There we go. Probably a final adjustment when the wheel's back in will be good. Right. Now we also had one for the caliper as well, didn't we? That goes on there, look. Right, so this one goes on there. Easier said than done sometimes. Right, there we are. Right. Excellent stuff. Okay, that can stay out for now, because that's going to sit on there like that, you see. So that can stay out for now, because obviously we're doing brake pads, so all we need to do now is drop the wheel in. Easy. Right, let's get this front wheel slapped in. So, first job really is to align the speedo drive hub, which, let's turn that around a bit, just got to make sure we don't go on top with the little tines in here and get them bent, so we've got to line that up on there. That's it. Feed that through. What we'll do is we'll just stick a screwdriver in there for now, just to hold that. So there's the spacer, and pop that in there. Just give the fork a little twizzle. There we go. In there, look. And then slide that through. Now, where's my hammer? Oh yeah. Right, wipe off that excess grease. Don't need that. Make sure you don't get any on the disc. It's important, obviously. Right, so we have a washer and then the nut. Right, we won't torque it down just yet. I want to make sure the speedo is working properly. So we'll just nip that up. There we go. Right, if I spin the wheel, I'll check that the speedo is working. Oh. It is. We're doing almost 10 kilometers an hour. It's fantastic. Right, we need to find out what the torque setting is for that. So back to the manual. There we go. 48 Newton meters for the front axle nut. Perfect. Job's a carrot. Geez, I'm running out of time today, and this is going to be a really long video. So, I think what we'll do is we'll fit the front brake pads while the caliper's off, and then the actual service for the bike, that's engine oil and filter. I will do valve clearances, new spark plug, clean the air filter, and any other quick check around, anything else that needs to be done, we will do in part 3, which I'm going to have to do tomorrow. And I've got a trailer to weld up. Okay, let's get these pads fitted and crack on. Now, to get the pads out, we've got to bend these tabs back for these 2 retaining pins that hold the pads in place. So to do that, it's actually easier with the caliper back on, just to hold it in place. So we'll just slide it all over the disc, and we'll just put the bolts back in. There we go. 1. 2. Now, where's my impact wrench? There we are. Right, to the other side. Right. I find a pound through screwdriver is quite useful for this sort of job. So we'll pop that on there. 1. Oh, go on. 2. I'm just going a bit further with that one. There we go. Right, caliper back off again. Right, now we should be able to get our socket on there and just buzz those out. Oh yeah. Only just. Geez, they need all clean, don't they? 1. Such a good little tool, that. 2. Yep, we'll get that one clean as well. Okay, pad number 1 with some farm. And pad number 2 with, Jesus, some more farm. God. It's got all the mud stuck in there, look. Right, it's time for a flat screwdriver to scrape that out. Now, we've already tested for piston retraction. We did that in the assessment video that Lily did with me. So there's no need to pop the piston out or anything like that. In fact, we'll just see if we can get that little spring plate out. That'll make getting all the mud out a bit easier. I'm going to stick it back in again once we've cleaned it up. Jeez, look at that. I feel an airline coming on very shortly to give that a blast out. That is proper cow shit in there, isn't it? This is the problem that the farmers complain about when they've got a disc brake. Even though they're more powerful, they get really badly contaminated and full of shit. And of course, they never get cleaned out. Nobody services these bikes until they break, basically. Not normally. I mean, there's a few good fleet managers out there, but in reality, they just get filled with shit the first day that they're used again. Oh, that'll do. No need for an airline. That's pretty good, actually. Okay, now the next job is we need to push that piston back in. Now, I might be able to do it with my fingers. Hang on, let's give it a go. Jeez, that's tight. Okay, I actually really want to clean around that piston. Now, can we get the slider out? Is that going to come out of there? It is. Oh, who designed that caliper? Look at that. It's not going to come out, is it? It's not bent. It does slide nicely though. It's not seized or anything. I was hoping to clean around that piston. I'm going to have to undo that and then swing it round. What's that, a 12? Have I got a 12? I do have a 12. This could be really tight. Let's give it a go. Jeez. Oh, no chance. Okay. I think the easiest thing to do is stick it back on the mount, on the perch, and get a spanner on from there. If we can get in. At least that will hold the caliper in place for us, won't it? I don't want to break the hydraulic line by taking it off. I have to re-bleed the whole thing. That's not the plan. And you're saying that, probably wants fresh fluid in it, doesn't it? It's 2 years old. Right, can we get in? Can we get in? We can't even get in. It's going to be a vice job. However, under here, I think we'll find a little Allen key. So let's give that a go. Looks very similar to the caliper on one of my quad bikes. Yes, let's give that a go. So number 6 Allen key. There we go. Right. Oh, that's working. Perfect. Okay. Now there is a little washer hanging in there, so we don't want to lose that. Okay, so now we should be able to swing that round, and that should then come out. Brilliant. And there's your little washer. So stick him somewhere safe. Now, is that going to come all the way out? Not really. Right. Oh, there we go, look. Okay, so we're going to have to lube up that seal a little bit to get it to pop through, I think. Where's my spray? In fact, I'll go find my spray. Or, the other option, I suppose, is just to lip that seal over with a screwdriver without damaging it. Because while it's out, we can grease it up, can't we? Jeez, left-handed. Come on, Mr. Frame. There we go. Almost. You still on camera? I think you are. So now it should come through. There we are, look. So we're going to grease that up as well. It's in pretty good nick, but we'll stick a bit of grease on it. Okay, so all of that was to get to the piston because it's pretty dirty around there. And if we push that back in, it's going to push all that dirt into the seals, which is not good. So we'll pump it out a bit further, not too far, I hope, and then we'll give it a good clean. Okay, make sure you've got plenty of fluid in the master cylinder, which we have. Okay, here we go. So we can watch the piston retraction again, make sure it goes back in again. Oh, look at that, it's perfect. Now, I'm not too sure how big these pistons are, so I don't want to go too far. That'll do. And now we've got good access to get round and clean off all the crap around that piston. Let's give this a blast. We've got the old Forge brake cleaner here, which is incredibly good, so don't get any in your eyes because it's pretty evil. We'll give it a blast first. Just get rid of all that initial crap. God, it's like a fire hose. Unbelievable. And we'll give it a bit of a clean, best we can. Jeez, look at that. That's fantastic. Now, obviously, it's a bit harder to get round the other side of the piston because you can't quite get your fingers in, but what you can do, if we can sort of mount the piston again somehow, maybe with a zip tie, just to hold it on the fork, because I'm running out of arms, then I can get this and just, you know, wind it around, basically. So I'll get a couple of cable ties and we'll zip tie it to the fork, and then we can finish it off. Now, obviously, if this was your prize, I don't know, Suzuki GSXR 750 you've just purchased, then zip tying calipers to the forks is probably not going to go down well with the customer or with yourself, to be honest, if it's your bike. But this is a farm bike, and it's okay to do this kind of stuff on a farm bike, because this is probably the most love that this bike has ever had. There we go. Right, let's get rid of the tails. And now we've got our own little, you know, steady away sort of workplace. We can give it another blast with the spray. Jesus. And then we can get that under there. And we can do that, look. Holy moly, that's come up really well. Really, really, really well. That is brilliant. There's like no corrosion on there at all. Good job. Okay, that's it. Done. So we can push that piston back in now. So we'll get rid of those. Fortunately, I've got a sponsor for cable ties, so I use lots actually when I'm filming for camera, holding the camera and things and the batteries and stuff. Right, now let's see if we can push it in now. I don't know if we can or not. Now, I'll have to get some big grips. Bear with me. Let's see if these are going to be big enough. Should be. They usually are. Much rather be pressing from the middle of the piston if I can. Jeez, that's tight. Oh man, what's going on there? Okay, it could be time for a G-clamp. Let's just get rid of that little anti-rattle thingy. And these also help to prevent heat going into the pistons. Is that going to come out or not? It's going to have to come out if I want to use a G-clamp. There we go. Oh yeah. Look at that, a solid piston. What the hell? Right, I'm going to get a G-clamp. And by rights, it shouldn't take that much effort to push the piston back in, that's for sure. I did some brakes on a, what was it, a Nissan Laurel, we call it from England, or they call it a Laurel over here. That's more like it. There we go, look, that's not too bad. Right, that'll do nicely, don't go too far. These are good little clamps, I use these, they're these one on welding. These are from ISL Industrial, Trademasters. Pretty good. Not too heavy for what they are, they're quite strong. Okay, so now we need to put the disc back in, which now just sits there, as it would. And we'll put that little, I did bend the plate a little bit, my apologies, but I think we'll be alright. He says, why are you not going in? Where's me hammer? Let's straighten that out again. If I had an hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. There we go. Yes, it really didn't want to come out earlier on, did it? But now it wants to not go back in again and stay in, so such is life. It will once the pads are in place. Let's see if we can just clip it in with the little grips. Oh my word, piston went further in. Moves quite easy now. Okay, so what's next is we need to put in the new brake pads. So we'll just stick that up on the tyre somewhere safe. Try and keep that disc in if we can. Right, where's the pads? Here we go, look. Okay, so these are part number Vestra VD-127-2JL. Sintered pad. Fantastic. Right, don't need that. All the packaging. Don't need that. Do need these. Now, normally I will put copper paste on the back of the pad that makes contact with the piston, and on the sliders themselves, on the pins, to try and make sure that these slide freely. However, I've found in a farm environment that basically all the shit just sticks to the copper paste, and these brakes don't get hot, so it shouldn't really be a problem. All I need to do really is clean up the pins. I will put a bit of copper paste on the pins though. Right, I'm going to clean these up, back shortly. I'm back. Look at that. Chuck them in the lathe and give them a real clean in there. Look, I can't get rid of the corrosion down here because it's pretty old, but and there's some serious pitting going on. If I had more time and it was, it was going to go on the road, I'd put new ones in, but for this job, it's just fine. Right, said Fred, for the third time. Jeez, got to come up with some new sayings, haven't I? Okay, so I think knowing Lily, she probably will go down the road on it because she's that kind of girl. She doesn't obey rules, we all know that. So we'll stick that on there like that. And let's just copper paste up the sliders as well. Look, this is what I do for a road going bike, or something that's not on farm basically, because farm stuff, man, just turns to shit literally. There we go. Okay. Yep, nothing on my fingers, it's good, which is pretty rare. Right, so the inner pad is going in now, and then the outer pad, geez, I didn't copy paste that one, hang on, bear with me, I'll do that on the bench. There we go. So the outer pad just gets some put down where the claws sit. Hopefully I've got it about right. Oh, I know what I've missed out. Jeez, why didn't you tell me? Holy moly. Forgot the little spring clip, didn't we? So that goes down there. Just keeps pressure on the pads. God. Stops them rattling basically. So we'll stick that down there. Hopefully we can get it in a pretty square. There we go, it looks pretty good. Here's some more of the farm stuff. Right, let's try again. Okay, so inner pad. Tell you it's not scripted, can't you? Inner pad goes in, outer pad goes in. And now, we've got that little plate to go on as well. Jeez, look at that. Pretty cool, eh? Single-handed. Now, I don't think it matters too much which way around that plate goes. It's probably right as it is. Impact wrench, here we go. Don't need to be super tight. We'll bend those tabs back once it's back in place. And now all we need to do is put the other bits on, wherever they are. Okay, so we need a little bit of grease to go on these sliders. Where's my grease? Oh, there it is. I used it to kill a fly earlier on. Perfect. Okay. Oh, pardon me. So we'll stick that on there. Now, these weren't seized at all. These were in really good nick, actually. Which is most surprising for a bike like this. But it was all original factory grease, so it's not because somebody's serviced it correctly, it's just the fact that it hasn't actually got contaminated yet. Cool. And I've even got a rag. Right, so we can stick that back in there, push it through, push it far enough through to get the seal back in the groove. There we go. And then push it back. Wonderful. Okay, right, next job. Where's it gone? There he is. So that goes in there, and then that goes on there. Now, there is a washer. Well, hey, where's that washer gone? There it is, look. So we'll stick Mr. Washer on there, stick that back over there, and we'll get our little Allen key, Allen socket in this case, and we're just going to get that to thread into there, look. Onto camera. Pretty good. Come on, you can line up. There we go. He's going in now. And we can tweak that up when the caliper's on. Okay, so we'll push that back. And now we're just going to separate the pads. I haven't got the right size screwdriver to hand, so we're going to use the wrong size. There we go. So hopefully that's enough to get it over the disc. Oh yeah, look at that. Just a quick double check. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so next job is we need the thread lock. Damn, where's the thread lock? Now I'm going to be using the Forge K120, which is the temporary. It's the stuff that you use when you want to disassemble something again. And obviously you've got to disassemble the caliper to service it, so we don't want to make it too tight to get off. And of course you can see there isn't any on these bolts at the moment, so probably a good idea to put some on, eh, Mr. Suzuki. Right, stick that in there. Oh, bloody fly's alive again. Little bastard. We'll have him. We will. Right, where's my other bolts? Right, so let's just pop some on there. Now, there's only you need to put on the end of the threads because that's the only bit that makes contact, basically. So any extras you put in there is just wasted. Right, we'll gingerly tighten these up. I want to torque them up. We'll do that last. Now, next job is we need to tighten that up. And because the grease is on there now, the boot isn't twisting, which is great. There we go, click. Factory settings and all that. We'll put the little cover back in. There we go, like a new one. Okay, so the next job and the last job is to torque those. Let's go and find out what the torque setting is. Oh, look at that, we're on the right page already. Okay, so the bolt we've just done up is D. I didn't do the torque on that. D should be 23 Newton meters if you're doing that. I'll go back and do it, don't worry. Now, I didn't have one of those in it. Okay, so it probably must have had different pads fitted at some point. Somebody's lost the anti-rattle shim. Anyway, the mounting points for the caliper are F. Is that the one? Looks like it, doesn't it? F. 26 Newton meters. There should be two of them though. God, it even gives the torque for the pad retaining bolt, look. C. 18 Newton meters. And it only shows one of those on the diagram, but there are two. So F. 26 Newton meters. Right, let's go and do that. Geez, not too many different camera angles today, is there? Well, not for this particular job anyway. Nothing on the bench, everything done on the bike this time, which is pretty weird, isn't it? Okay, so 26 preset. It's 1, 2, there we go. You'd be surprised how many bike shops don't do that. Honestly, it does my head in. Right, the last thing we have to do is pump up the brake, because there'll be excessive clearance between those pads and the brake. And if the customer, or in this case Lily, gets on the bike and applies the front brake, nothing there, she's probably going to crash. Fantastic. Okay, we have one more thing to do, and that's bend over those tabs again on those two back bolts. We can also torque them whilst they're in situ, because we can get through the spokes. So we'll do that. Okay, so that's that one. So maybe it's over tight, I don't know. It is. Okay, Mr. Impact Wrench. Even though we did it gingerly, it was still enough. Okay, so 18 Newton meters when you're doing that. Just back the old torque wrench off. Okay, so now we just need to bend one of those two tabs back into position. So Mr. Hammer. Now for this one, that flat's pretty close to that one, so we'll give that a go. Start off on this side, hopefully. Maybe not. Way. There we go. Right, that's that one. Let's give it a little tap from this side. I might just finish it off with a flat punch actually. Oh, and this one as well. Bang on. It's lined up nicely. Right, I'll get a flat punch. Hopefully this one will be long enough. Yes, it'll do. There we go. Don't want to go mad because obviously it's a floating caliper and you know, don't want to damage it. Right, that's all done. Jeez, it's fantastic. Okay crew, well if you look just above my head you'll see a new clock that Forge gave me. Now I don't normally have clocks in the workshop because it's bad when you're filming because it really gives away how long the job takes to do. I started this job, started filming about 11 AM this morning. No, it was actually 11:30 AM this morning, so it's now 5 o'clock. That's 5.5 hours. Okay, I had a lot to stop and a couple of little breaks in the afternoon, but it's amazing how much longer a job takes when you're filming it. It really does. Okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm going to stop this one where we are now. We've done the steering head bearings, we've done the front brake pads. All that's left to do on this bike now is a service. That's going to be engine oil, filter, which is the HF132 by the way, hopefully, anyway. And new spark plug, there you go, look, NGK DR8EA reading backwards. And we've got to clean out the air filter and re-oil it and that kind of stuff. The chain's all done, so just got to lube the chain. Quick check round. If there's any grease points on the suspension linkage, we'll do those as well. So, oh, and valve clearance. Definitely valve clearance. And I want to do some of the back end. It's missing indicators and stuff, so I don't know what to do with that yet. I haven't got any spare indicators, so I might have to order some and put one at a later date. And a brake light. It really needs a brake light. It hasn't got a brake light or a tail light, so it looks a bit dodgy at the back end, doesn't it? Anyway, this is it. It will have been a long video by the time I've edited it up. I'll try and condense it as best I can, but remember, these videos are done really to show the whole job. You know, if I wanted to do a short video, I could say, hey, broken bike, you know, abracadabra, these are the parts we use, and it's now fixed. 2-minute video. It's not what I do. If you like those kind of videos, plenty of other channels, not this one. Okay, crew, well, if you've managed it this far, then why not click, which side is it? I think it's on that side. Click on the, is it? I've no idea, I keep forgetting. Where's my piece of paper gone? Hang on, bear with me. See, I'm lost that, Lily, aren't I? It's on this side, so click on the subscribe button. You'll see a little gear icon turn up. Click on the gear icon. And you can tick the box, turn on notifications. Same way, just ring the bell if you're on a smart device. Most of us use smart devices these days. And our friends at YouTube will send you an email as and when I upload any new videos, so you won't miss any. And Tool Girl Lilli will be back in the workshop in January, I believe. But we're going to see her test riding her bike out in the paddock as a Christmas special. And that's coming up soon. Obviously, Christmas Day probably. So watch out for that one. Now, you'll also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Feel free to communicate through any of those portals. There's also my email address down the bottom in the description. If you want to send anything through, feel free. Again, the PO box address is down the bottom, and you're bound to get a mention. If you're a company out there and you want to sponsor, or you feel you can help the channel in some way, then get in touch. Again, by email is great. And all the support we've had over the years, that's from ISL, Teng Tools, they're the importers, you know, and they have a much wider range of products than just the Teng products, but they have been fantastically good to me over the last 3.5 years. I'm going to meet Brandon next week and have a beer with him to thank him again for being such a good sport all year. Forge have come on board, and of course there is Picoscope, who made a huge donation about 1.5 years ago, and I've been using that scope pretty much every week to do diagnostics for my work as well, and it's been incredibly helpful, and I've learned an awful lot using the scope, and there will be more videos coming to the channel using the scope. But I'm not a professional. If you want to see professionals using that Picoscope, then drop on to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics, go and see Ivan, or you've got Eric O, and of course you've got the master of all diagnostics, which is Keith. I'll put a link to Keith's channel again down in the description. Okay, crew, what else is there? Oh yes, there's a Patreon page. You can drop onto there and read all about the channel, how it came to be, profiles on the Tool Girls. There's heaps of pictures and stuff you can download to make your own screensavers and bits and pieces. There's also a 2020 Andy Mechanic Tool Girl calendar available, and I'll put details about that and a link to that calendar video you know, in the description for you as well. There's only a few left, a handful, so if you want one, now is the time to get one. And I do post them anywhere in the world, and to be perfectly honest, I don't make anything at it. In the actual fact, the last two that I posted out cost me more than what I sold them for. But hey, if you want one, that's what you need to do. And I'll do my bit and I'll ship it out to you as soon as I possibly can. And they're signed by 2 of the Tool Girls, by the way. Lastly, you can make a donation through Patreon, through the Patreon page, or you can also click on the PayPal icon on the Andy Mechanic homepage, and that's working really well. And those that have donated recently, very, very grateful. Thank you very much for that. It certainly helps us to buy more resources for the workshop, get the workshop finished. I've got this bloody wall to take out over Christmas, another beam to weld up, and a carport to build outside, so no rest for me, and I'll try and keep you updated best I can. Okay, crew, well, until next time, take care, drive safe, and be good. And if you can't be good, be fast. Over and out. And we get the flip.
Oh,
Clutch.